everybody. Welcome to a new episode of Shooting the Shit. It's a messy job. Somebody has to do it. Why not us? I'm KD, and I have my co host with me, of course, Kelly. Say hi, Kelly.
Hi, Kelly.
Ha 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 ha. Uh, so if you like us, subscribe, drop us a like. Even if you don't like us, drop us some bullshit, whatever you want to do. We're cool with it. So, but subscribe anyway. Even if you want to make fun of us, I'm cool with that. So, okay, today we have a special guest, Ann Shade. Say hi, Ann.
Hi.
Yeah, yeah. You guys who watch Girl on Fire should remember her. She did actually one of my better shows. So, so I'm glad to have her here for this podcast.
I'm
So,
glad to be here.
well, thank you. We really appreciate it. So, tell us a little bit about you and about what's going on with you right now.
I am Ann Shade. I publish through Bold Stroke Books. I have currently have two books released. The first is Fem Tales, which is a fairy tale trilogy, and the next is a historical masquerade. And coming out in June will be a project that I worked on with Victoria Villasenor, and it is called In Our Words, and they're short stories by queer BIPOC community and writers. And I've have a story within that, but I also got to pick the stories for that. So I got to read a whole bunch of submissions and choose the ones that, and it was difficult, but choose the ones that we thought would be
Mhm.
great for the book. And I have another one coming out, Love and Lotus Blossoms, coming out in the fall. So
What
that's
what is that about?
Love and Lotus Blossoms is a first person narrative
Uh-huh.
about a woman, pretty much her life. It's a coming of age story,
Mm.
a coming of age um, reunion, a love reunion type thing. It's a little bit of everything. It started out as a story, sort of loosely biographical, but then the
Mhm.
character took a life of her own and decided she wanted her own story. So the only thing familiar about that story or connected to me is where she grew up in Montclair, New Jersey. Other than that, she's pretty much not me anymore. Um, but it's a love story, the coming of age story, and it's good. It's really good.
Ooh,
And
that
I'm
sounds like
currently in the first edit process for that.
that's always fun. That sounds like good
So much
movie
fun.
fodder. Yeah, that sounds like a
Thank you.
good movie. That could be like a women love women movie of the week or something like that. You know what I
Well,
mean?
hey, I'm trying to get Femtales on Netflix, so we'll see what happens with that. I've sent it to a couple of people. I've got it out there, trying to get it to a couple of people that fingers crossed.
Yeah. Okay, look, I got my toes crossed too.
Yeah,
Look,
crossing
I
it
even
all.
cross my ankles. I would doubt that would be great. Oh my
And
God,
then
we need more stuff out there. Yeah.
I'm up for a Lammy, a Lambda Literary Award for Femtales, for the LGBTQ erotica category. I'm a finalist for that. So June 1st, once again, fingers crossed, find out if my first book ever is going to actually get a Lammy.
I know, right? We'd be
Nice.
pulling for you. We're pulling
And
for
that
you.
says
That
a
was
lot, right?
it
That says a
is.
lot because
It really
Lammys are
does.
hard to get into. So to have your first book ever, skill,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I was
That's
very surprised when I got the email saying that I was being nominated. And then to find out I was a finalist, I was like,
yeah.
I was running around the house crazy.
Tho- those
That's
are
what
the
I would do.
bougie. Those are the bougie awards.
Those
I,
are the
Yeah,
bougie
the
awards.
bougie
We
and they
awards.
have
Yeah.
my serious, like, I have been in love with this woman forever and a day. Michelle and Degacello is performing.
Oh,
Wow.
So
really?
I'm like,
Wow.
okay,
I
Oh
didn't
my
know that.
God.
I guess I would know that if I read any of my emails, but
yeah.
Oh, I love her. She's so smooth. It's just like,
I have been in love with her
oh,
since oh God, since If I Was Your Girlfriend,
oh,
and
I was just about to
oh
say
my
that.
God,
Oh,
Plantation Lullabies, and
oh my God. See, now I'm gonna have to download. Oh,
Dreadlocks, the Dreadlock song, that one.
oh, just oh. See, I'm gonna have to download some music. I'm gonna have to download some music.
Yes,
Really.
yes.
But yeah, oh my
But
God.
anywho, that's me.
Okay. Well, hell, that was a lot of interesting right there in those 3 minutes, if you ask
Thank
me.
you, thank you.
If
Mhm.
we want to play off the whole book cover thing, we should
Yes.
go into that right now. So one
Yes,
thing
we
that
should.
I pointed out when Anne showed us her book, Femtales, one thing that I pointed out was that the main character at the top of the book, the one that's staring deadpan straight into the camera,
It plays Beast.
Hmm.
that plays Beast,
The
looks
rapper. Hmm.
very, very similar to our last guest. And I'm not saying that because they both wear glasses and they're both black. Like I got a second opinion, and it was a hard for us
And
to find,
third one.
And a
and a
third
third
one.
one. Yeah.
We
A
all agree.
second
It's a
and a third
consensus.
opinion.
Hmm.
Opinion, yes. So here you can see we have the image um from, no, that wasn't what I wanted to do. Never mind. So we have the image here. You can see the top photo. And then here we have Virginia Black. Now, Virginia Black has given me this look before on the right. So maybe that's why I recognize the look. But
Oh my
like,
God, do they have the same glasses?
I think they do.
They
Yeah.
Oh
do.
my God,
Yeah.
those are the
And
same glasses.
and Anne, you assured us that it is not actually Virginia in this picture. So Virginia has a twin.
Yeah, Hopkins, my former football teammate.
Yeah.
Virginia
She's a
also
little
has
darker too. She's a little
well, it
darker
could just be
skin.
the light. Like it could be the lighting. But anyway, so Virginia has a twin out there apparently who
Mhm,
also can give a very fantastic "I'm over your shit" stare.
mhm.
So, I just wanted to
Oh
point that out.
God.
Can I just say, and I'm going to make this point too, Virginia looks a hell of a lot more like Anne's friend here than I look like Justin Bieber with my hair.
I do not agree. I do not
Oh,
agree. And if I had not deleted all those pictures, I would bring them up again. I do not agree.
Just rewatch the podcast. That's
right.
all.
You can
Yeah,
always
there you go.
rewatch maybe
Everybody
this.
go back and compare those pictures from the last podcast. You will see exactly what I mean. Everybody should agree.
Don't force people. All right. So we are discussing something a little more serious today. I know we usually do. We're still going to do fun stuff. Don't worry. But it's shooting the shit. And sometimes you shoot the shit about more serious topics. And there's a topic that we wanted to talk about for a while. And I think Anne is a great person to talk about that. And you are on the diversity and inclusion. You're a committee member, right? Are you a
Yes.
committee member? Right?
Yeah,
For
committee.
GCLS. You're obviously very out there in the community. You doing a fantastic job writing your books. And one of the topics we want to discuss today is writing and writer diversity, to the call of, we obviously need more books written as own voices. I think it's fantastic. But, we can't put everything and say, well, if we don't have an author writing own voices, and like we still need content so that people can see themselves in books. And I think the key is that, yes, we want that content. We don't just want everybody staying in their lanes, but you have to write it. You have to do it right. Don't be token. Don't slap a color on the character.
That is a big thing for me because, as
Or
you
give them
know,
an ethnic name.
yes,
Give them, they've got to have backstory. So I'm sorry.
that's
I'm
a big
gonna
thing.
be done, and I'm gonna let you guys go for a bit.
Okay, okay. But my big thing, okay, I do sensitivity reads as well.
I did
That's
not know that. I
it
didn't
it
peg you as
says
being
it.
very sensitive, but
Oh, fuck you, fuck you. It says it right there on my Twitter page. It's
that you're
pinned, I do
sensitive.
believe. Yes, that I'm sensitive and that I do sensitivity reads for a small fee. Because I'm not
You're
gonna
not
do
that
this for free.
sensitive.
I'm sensitive enough, bitch. Come on now. Come on. I don't make a lot of money from it, but every once in a while I'll get an email. But that's the kind of thing that I look for when I do the sensitivity reads. Is did they just write a whole book with seemingly a white character and decide at the end, okay, let's add some diversity, and all of a sudden this character is black or Hispanic or whatever, and there's not been any huge changes to it. And I know this sounds weird, um, because in a way it's kind of like you're saying, okay, so what does it mean to write a character white? What does it mean to write a character black? What does it mean to write a character of any minority, of any minority? It has a meaning. It really does. It doesn't have to mean like if it's a black woman or that she has to be hood or ghetto. It doesn't mean if you write about native people they have to be a certain way. It just means that you bring some part of the culture into that character, and not just slap, like you said, a name, a ethnic name at the
Or a
last
color,
minute. Yeah,
or
and a
paint them
color.
with, right? I,
Exactly. I mean, so that's a big thing with me. And I don't read a lot, but I have read books that you're reading and you're like, you know,
why,
this,
why, why is Brock African American? Or, you know,
yes,
or
yes,
It's
yes.
also, I mean, you can tell when someone's reaching when, and if you don't do your research, especially if you're doing a historical and you're choosing names for your characters, and if you have an ethnic character, you really have to look back at that era and what common names were. Look at old census records. Look
Hmm.
at old read a book about historical people, someone that was in historical characters, or anything with the historical tint to it that may feature African American people or ethnic people, anyone of any, BIPOC of the BIPOC community. Read
Hmm.
something about them from that time and era that you're writing in, so you make sure you're not naming, the daughter of a former slave. Um,
Mm.
Jennifer.
what was it?
Jennifer.
Yes, exactly,
Right.
exactly.
Well,
Jennifer.
not only
Jenny.
that,
Jenny,
yeah,
maybe.
yeah.
Jenny, maybe, but Jennifer
Hmm.
or Marisol or something like that. You have to look at that era and figure out, am I going to portray this character as a genuine character or someone I've just made up in my mind and I'm just going
Hmm.
to give her a name that I think is really cute? And no, you can't do that. You
You
know,
can. And but
you might.
unfortunately, I think now I'm not saying this is everybody, but let's be real. There's some ladies, lazy writers out there. I mean, they just want things how they want it. They don't want to change anything. It sounds good to them, so it's just like, fuck you, I don't care what you say. I'm not going to change this. I like the way it is. I mean, if you think about it, what was the name of that organization? Romance writers of
Oh, the one
Yes,
that had the big yellow
RW,
glasses.
romantic
yeah,
writers. Yeah.
yeah.
Of America,
That
Romance Writers of America.
Yeah, that whole downfall started because of this woman's book and her portrayal of minority
Lazy.
women.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you had somebody of of that ethnicity telling you what you wrote was racist.
Listen.
And yeah, listen, don't argue. Listen, this is
Yeah.
the time when you shut up and listen, you know. But of course, the woman wouldn't listen, and as it all played out, on Twitter,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it
Yeah.
was all on the news
As it all
and
does,
everything.
right?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So, I mean, and that's unfortunate, but it's a thing that I think needs to be continually addressed, continually.
Yeah.
Just to say, okay, yes, we're not doing this, and we're going to try, and we're going to do better. It needs to be continually addressed. In my opinion. Now I know you're not all publishers, have the ability to do this, but there should be sensitivity readers on staff, for whatever. I mean, if possible, it's, big places like Bold Stroke, places like big places, or big
Some
as they
publishers
are.
have a staff of, two.
Yeah, I mean, that's different. That's
Barely mostly a staff of one, but
yeah.
have you, I'm sure you both have read it. I read it. I follow a lot of different people who are very vocal about race relations and the African American struggle in the US. And one of them had tweeted, I don't know, it was a few months ago, and he said that, for those people, only white people say, I look at everybody and I don't see color. He's like,
yeah.
I always see color. He's like, my life revolves around color because I get treated differently for the color of my skin. I can't help but see color. Like, you're very situationally aware. This cop is black. This cop is white. The people around me are white. Anytime there's a situation. And I thought that was interesting because I don't know what that struggle is like. I don't know what it's like to get pulled over and be afraid simply because I'm white. I'm not white, and something like that it's unimaginable, to be honest. I mean, I get, I know that a lot of people that don't present in the norm, right? Women or men that don't look like how everybody thinks they should look. I know what that's like, but I don't know what it's like to look like everybody else and go out and still be judged simply because you aren't the same shade, and it's just, so it really struck me reading that it's white people that say, I don't see color. I mean, I understand that they're trying to make a statement that they're not racist. And usually, just like, I'm not racist, but you're a racist. Don't ever say that. If you're gonna put a caveat on it, you're a racist.
I think another big insult that you can do as a writer who decides to put a character of color in their book is to ignore that they're a character of color. Like you said, don't wait until the end to all of a sudden say, mention something that shows you that they're a character of color. From the beginning, you have to note that this is a character of color, whether it's a description of their skin tone, if it's a description of their, her Caribbean, she's from where she was from, anything like that. But to completely ignore it and to just
then say it at the end.
Yeah, and then treat the character as just a regular character. It's you can't really do that with a BIPOC character. I don't think
it's dangerous.
I don't think it's possible.
It's
because
dangerous.
then you're basically, and I know everyone says, I just want to be treated equally. I just want to be, that's great. But we also want to be acknowledged in not just life, but in writing, in print, in film, in all those things. We want to be seen. And when you disregard that fact in your writing, that character, that you don't mention anything about that character being of color, then you're not seeing us. You're probably one of those people that says, I don't see color.
And they're trying to put it in their writing as well. And I know for a fact, a lot of well, not a lot, a handful of writers that I've talked to, some of them are scared to portray a person of color in what
I've heard the same arguments. Yes.
Yeah, because they don't want to offend anybody, so they do exactly what you just said, Ann. They just kind of like, oh,
slide it in.
Gonna be like anybody else, and they don't have to be a particular color. Why do I have to bring attention to that? But that's just as bad. I agree with you.
If you are a certain gender, if you are a certain disability, if you are a certain race, if you are a certain religion, you want to connect with the media that you are taking in. You want to see yourself reflected in that. Women want to see themselves as heroes or as main characters in movies and in books. You know, you know, Black people, Native American people, Hispanic people, right? Pacific Islanders, they want to see themselves in books. But, you know, it circles back around. These people, essentially, it's lazy. They're afraid to get a sensitivity reader. They're afraid to actually do the backstory. I like to write a diverse cast, because not where I'm at now, this is Yogurtsville, but when I lived in Grand Rapids, I had a lot of different friends. It was a very diverse crowd. So I kind of like write the people that I do cafeteria plan, right? I pluck personalities and people. But if I'm going to write a main character, and see, I would definitely have to get a sensitivity reader. This is why I write sci-fi a lot, so I can write, you know, a diverse crowd. They're like, they're a dragon, whatever, you know, they're fantasy. Purple. Right, they're purple, exactly. But or futuristic. You don't run in. There's a lot of leeway when you're writing speculative fiction, because you can pretend like things like famine, racism, political bullshittedness. I don't know, that's a word. And you can pretend you can pretend like that stuff doesn't exist, right? But if you're gonna write a main character, you need to understand that they are going to experience life differently than you do. And people typically write how they experience life, and they put that into their characters. So that's something that's it's a very fine line. You need to write this character, but you cannot write it through your lens, because it's not your lens. You don't know what it was like. So you know what? Ask people, you know, or do your research, so that, you know, if this person is out, oh, I'm going out on the town, or, oh, I got pulled over by a cop. Well, you know what? Maybe your other character getting pulled over by a cop in your story, no big deal. Got a ticket, you know, damn it. But it's going to be different if you have a person of color getting pulled over by a cop. I'm just talking about like contemporary romance or contemporary fiction. So
also, you can't do a character's backstory without noting their culture, where they're from,
right.
Any of that stuff. I don't understand how you can possibly do a backstory for a character without noting in some way, shape, or form that they're a character of an ethnicity.
Yeah. And how you're raised definitely affects that. It's not just I'm Black and I was taught to be scared of, you know, people who are going to be racist, right? It's a lot of stuff is different. Your foods, right? Your cooking, your familial structure sometimes, your discipline, right? Like there's a lot of stuff that's different when you grow up in a household of color than when you grow up in a white household. Like there are just different things. I know that it's different when you grow up in a household with like Native Americans. Even it's just a very different culture. My aunt was married to a Native American for a number of years. He was Chippewa, and her daughter, who's my cousin, who's dead now, but she was half Chippewa. So we used to go to the powwows, but like we'd go up to the reservation. It's just a different way of life. It's different food, different cooking. There's so many things that you need to take into account if you're going to write people of color. And I think that's why some people don't do it, because it's easy. Because they're already living in a white room. They don't have any point of reference. They don't know people that they can draw on, other than maybe caricatures that they see on TV. Yeah, you know, right? So we got to write as a non-person of color. I fully believe I'm a world builder anyway. So you know what? I'll take the hard way, you know, but do it right. Do it right. Because people want to see themselves reflected, and they want to see themselves, not what everybody assumes they are.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the best reviews. Oh, go ahead, Anne. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. No. I've had interesting reviews doing Masquerade, because Masquerade takes place during the 1920s, during the Harlem Renaissance. And a lot of reviews from non African American people have been, I had no idea it was like this for Black people. I don't know how they managed to live that way. I can't imagine being Black and gay in that time. So it's a lot of like, I had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
And it 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 made me laugh, but it also made me sad. And then it
Mm-hmm.
also ticked me off because
Mm-hmm.
it made me laugh because it's like, where have you been for the last so many years of your life? Have you not seen anything? Do you watch PBS even?
Did they even ask? Did they ask you? I've never heard of the Harlem Renaissance. Was
No,
there?
well, I don't, they didn't say that.
Okay, well
But it
that's
made me laugh for
progress.
that reason.
Okay.
It made me sad because it goes to show that our education system is not teaching anything of consequence to our children about their history.
Mm-hmm.
This country, the Harlem Renaissance was built on the artistic talents and the music and the poetry and the
Mm-hmm.
words and the art, every artistry, everything, it came from that. The jazz era, and
Mm-hmm.
it came from us, came from, African American people. And then it made me mad because I'm like, well, why would you not know that?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know. The sad and the mad kind of coincided. But I've also, I don't think it's a problem, but my thing is, I grew up in Chicago. Um, and I grew up in a household where my mom went to charm school. She's very much, she wears the big hat. My
Oh.
mother is
She's
glamorous.
she's put together.
She is a put together Black woman. She used to model, and so she's a very cross
Oh
your feet, extra
my.
ankles kind of thing. And my dad, same guy, very suave, cool, debonair kind of
Debonair.
guy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that you didn't see a lot of that with Black folks, they were both sophisticated in a certain way. And so because of that, I grew up, speaking a certain way. You don't say, if you said ain't, you got popped in the mouth. You know, ain't is not a word in the dictionary. It was very much like that. So
Mm-hmm.
I grew up speaking very, being from the Midwest and then having a mother who was very proper speaking. So I spoke very properly. So I grew up being called Oreo, being called little white girl, all those things because I was proper.
Or how many times
Man.
did somebody say, "Well, you don't sound Black"?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I could tell you stories on that one,
Me
even at a
too.
job interview, because
Oh
I
my
had,
God. Over
yes,
the phone. It's
yes.
oh my God.
And then they meet
Oh,
you.
there
But
was
then I had an
some little
uncle.
white lady, or
Yes.
something like that. I get that a lot. I mean, it's like, oh, or or like back when when I first moved to New Orleans, when I lived in Atlantic City, I moved to New Orleans with my best friend, and I remember I was on a dating scene or whatever, and I remember some
Whatever.
of the yeah, years and years ago before I met my lovely wife. Um,
Good
but
answer. Good
one of the
answer.
things that I remember is um, a couple of women telling me, "You don't act like the women here," and I'm just like, "What do you mean?" Just the
Yeah.
way you talk and the stuff you talk about, and all this stuff, so it's unfortunate. And you get that a lot. I mean, I don't think, I have a professional voice. Uh, my wife has, my wife is white, and I tell her that she has a fake voice that she uses, and I can tell who she's talking to
Hmm.
according to the way
Carrie
her
has a fake
voice is.
voice.
Yes. See,
I
see,
get it.
it's a
I
thing.
get
It's
it.
a thing. And so, and I was like, who are you talking to in that fake voice? And I have a professional voice, when I'm talking to clients and, things of that nature and
Yeah.
everything. And I'm sure I sound differently when I'm talking to my best friends or, what have you. But I've gotten a lot, where I've talked to a parent to set up an appointment. And then I actually go to those appointments and they're like, Oh, not that it matters, but I expected you to be a white lady, and and I'm just like, and I just and kind of
The
laugh it
fact
off
that you
or
have to
whatever.
point it out, like the fact that
Yeah.
they even have to point it out, who gives a fuck? Like,
I know, does it matter? But I do ask, pre-COVID when I was going to houses and stuff. That was one of the first questions I asked. Do you have a problem with me being black? And if you do, I'm
no,
asking
is
you to
that
be
for a
honest about
safety
that.
issue for you? Is that for a safety issue for
No, it's
you?
for
Well,
it's
no,
for
because
them
there
about
are
what they're
some people
comfortable
who do
with.
not want to work with a black person.
Yeah,
They
there's some
don't.
people who
Because
don't.
and they won't, and they won't get the full benefit of your services if they don't open up, right? And
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. So, I mean, so that is something that's in my beginning speech when I go meet a family. I've been doing this for 20 years, I'm experienced in everything. But there's a question I want to ask you. Would you have a problem working with me because I'm black? That's something, I'm not passing judgment. It's just something I need to know. If not, if you do, I can go back to my supervisor and recommend somebody else. I mean, so, but I got to the point where I just did that. I mean, for my own peace of mind and for theirs as well. I mean, because who wants to go up? I don't want to spend the 6 month, 3 to 6 months with a kid going up a mountain. I mean, you know what I'm saying? And not getting anywhere, you know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, it's just wow. It's just wow. It's a huge thing. And going back to us seeing ourselves in different forms of media, and you were saying, Anne, about some of the reviews you got for Masquerade.
Mhm.
One of the best reviews I've ever gotten, aside from the reviews I've gotten from actual reviewers or professional reviewers, it was for Big Girl Pill, and she said that it was so great to read about another woman with braids, and she says, I've never read a book, you know, uh, with that, with women who look like me who had braids.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. And I never even thought about that. I mean, it was just a character, I created, so to speak. But for some reason, reading that, I was just like, see, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about right there. People need to see themselves on the page, on TV, represented in all forms of media. So, segueing into that, you have all Black people on their cover.
That's a main thing with me. And
Hmm.
so far, the only book, the one coming out, Love and Lotus Blossoms,
Hmm.
doesn't have a person on the cover
Hmm.
because the lotus blossom is the
Hmm.
theme of it.
That makes
So that's
sense.
what's on the
Yeah.
cover. But it was real important for me. Even the first book that I did that I self-published, which I'm republishing under Bold Strokes, I've gotten a chance to redo it and rework it.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
uh, I had an African American woman on the cover,
Hmm.
and I said, I need to be able to. What the one thing I heard was, well, why would you do that? Won't that deter other people from reading it? I'm like, if someone has to look at a cover of a book,
Hmm.
and say they're not going to read it because they don't like the people on the cover, then
Hmm.
that's their loss.
Yep. Exactly.
Exactly. So if
Exactly.
you read,
I don't
if
want you reading my damn book anyway.
really, if
Right.
you read the
Exactly.
back of the book, that's what counts. What you see
Exactly.
on the
Thank
front
you.
isn't what should deter you. If
Hmm.
if the back of the book was like, if you read the back and like,
What
I
the
don't want to
fuck?
read
I'm like,
that.
that don't sound like
You
anything I
know,
would be interested in.
no.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you turn it down just because the characters are people of color,
Mhm.
you're the asshole.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, and
fine,
it's
No,
don't
just
want you.
which I'm sure happens. Which I'm
It,
sure happens.
and I'm sure it does.
Yeah,
And
it
the
does.
reason I did that is because the other thing I grew up with was I had an uncle who was a militant black man, in like in a militant Black Panther group kind of thing.
Hmm.
And I was born on May 19th, Malcolm X's birthday. So his niece was the epitome of pride and strength. Here's my little black niece born on Malcolm X's birthday. So I
Hmm.
learned about Malcolm X before I even knew who Martin Luther King was. He
Hmm.
bought me my first little black baby doll. Anything he bought me had African American intent. I grew up I never owned a white doll my entire childhood. All my dolls were always black
Well,
dolls.
I never owned a doll, so
Oh.
I found
So
them
that was
creepy.
my big thing,
So
is
yeah.
that
I had stuffed animals, so
well, with representation, that made me feel like representation was important. So I said,
Hmm.
if I ever did this, if I ever wrote a book, then the representation was going to be smack dab on the cover, and that's it. You can't tell from reading the blurb that the characters are black. Once you start reading it, then you're going to know. But the blurb
Hmm.
doesn't tell you. But that cover has to be able to grab you and tell you
Hmm.
this is about proud black women.
Hmm.
And that's what I needed, and that's why with the first two books, both covers are both my photography, because I couldn't find any
good models for covers.
any media, like when you go on the websites to find stock images.
Mm-mm.
There's not.
Oh my God, the
Hmm.
stock images for black women, first of all,
Hmm.
and then the stock images for black lesbians or black female couples is hilarious. They're so limiting. So it was important for me to make sure that if it's gonna look the way I want it to look. And there was
Hmm.
no way it was gonna look that way using stock images. So
Hmm.
although one person said it was a great story, and this is Femtales, but she really didn't like, she almost didn't read it because she didn't like the cover photos because they look like stock photos. And I wanted to write back
Dumbass.
to her, excuse me.
That's that's
I
kind of
took
a
those
compliment, sort of.
photos.
Like, I
But
feel
But
like
but
I
go.
feel like
also
her covers your covers put you at like the you're at the like by POC top of the pyramid, because you have writers who aren't people of color writing people of color in their yeah, you heard that. I don't know what's going on back there, but I don't know what's going on back there, but we all heard it. um so you have writers who are not people of color writing people of color into their books, and that's great because we need inclusion for everybody, right?
Yes.
And then you have writers who are people of color writing BIPOC characters into their books, but they just have generic covers. And then you're like, I'm a person of color, I'm writing people of color, and I'm going to show the people of color on the front of my book, so that if somebody who is a person of color goes and looks at books online in a store, that looks like me.
That's
I
interesting.
want like getting your black baby doll, or that looks like me. And
That's
and
that's
it's
my whole
it
thing. I'm
must
proud of this. I'm proud of my melanin. I'm proud of being a brown skinned woman. This this
hmm
is this is me. I'm proud of my mother who is two shades lighter than me. Her
hmm
beautiful, light skin. I'm proud of my, daughter who is two shades darker than me. Her darks. I'm proud of it's see, when I get started on this, this is beautiful to me.
it
And
is.
to
It
to
is.
show
And why
that,
not? Why not show it? Why not celebrate it? Why
exactly,
not? Why
exactly.
not? Yeah. I mean, and the fact I remember when I did Between the Lines and Pink, right after. I remember talking to Astrid at the time. I think we had a Skype meeting and we were talking about, and she was like, yeah, she says, unfortunately, you know, covers that have people of color on them do not sell well. She says, but I'm not, and I have to applaud Ilva for never letting that deter them from anything. I mean, they are, and the publisher I'm with right now they're the same way. They're not deterred by anything. Okay, so this is what you want on the cover, that's fine. But I remember us having that conversation, and that was news to me. I never thought about it that way. It's just like
you're
when I
with
wrote.
Dirt Road now, right?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. And when I wrote my first book, my main character, she was unapologetically bisexual. I mean, it was just like, okay. Sometimes, it depended on where she was and where her mindset was, or what have you. She was unapologetically bisexual. And it was just like, it never occurred to me not to include that in the book. It didn't even cross my mind. It was just me, writing this well-rounded character, explaining who she is, making her come off the page. And that was part of who she was. So it was just like, and the stink that came from that, I was just like, what? What? I mean, so,
Character in Love and Lotus Blossoms is bisexual.
oh my God, I don't know.
I know. A
So,
whole book about a
oh
bisexual
my
woman
God. Oh my God.
coming out the
Almost all of
spring.
my characters are bisexual now.
Yeah,
So
that's what I do.
because
Just to piss people off, I've
I've
made
just
almost
gone
every
that
book I
way.
had. Uh-huh.
Well, and I'm not I don't consider myself a lesbian. I don't consider myself bisexual either. Like, I'm just queer. I've been with men. I find men attractive. I've been with women. I find women attractive. I find women more attractive. But like, and my wife, she's like 50-50 right down the middle. Right. If she weren't with me, she'd probably be with some dude. It's okay. It's
It
okay
is
though.
okay.
Like, I don't
It is
care.
okay.
And
It's
I bisexuals are very maligned, you know, and
So just
it's just
try being bisexual character in black.
and black,
oh
yeah,
my
right.
God.
These
Oh my God. Oh, that is like, I mean, first of all, being any kind of queer in the Black community sometimes is just like, ooh,
Yeah, but in
So,
the writing alone, it's the bisexual characters in most books and most writing, especially when it came to African American writing that I read before, were always either confused, looking to get revenge on someone, um, uh, uh, was just gay for a day kind of thing,
oh, really?
or had been something happened in their past and made them like they were abused or raped or something like that,
Oh
and
my
that's what made them
God.
go to women. So
I
it's
hate
like
that. I hate that
they
trope.
were
can
never
we
in a
just be bi? Like,
Yeah,
can
just
we
be,
just,
but just
you know what?
because.
Honestly, it's my own personal opinion that with no outside influences, I feel like the brunt of humanity is going to fall with sexuality within the bell curve,
Mm,
meaning they're going to group in the middle. That is my personal opinion.
mm-hmm,
Without religion, without nationality, without social cues, social expectations on gender and gender bias, gender expectation. I feel like the brunt of humanity, as far as sexuality, would fall within the bell curve, meaning there are people
mm-hmm,
that are here, but the whole brunt of them are going to be mostly in that midsection.
mm-hmm,
And but people aren't raised like that.
mm-mm,
They have religion, they have culture, they have gender expectation. You have all these outside influences, expectations of what you're supposed to be and what you're not supposed to be. And that's why, I've heard a lot of people say, oh, there's so many more kids that are coming out as trans, or kids that are coming out as gay, and like, oh, suddenly it's just popular and that's why they're doing it. No, they're not
ugh,
doing it because it's popular. They're doing it because it's always been there, but
mm-hmm,
suddenly they feel safer
Yep.
mm-hmm.
being who they
Exactly.
are.
Exactly.
And
People don't even realize the amount of people that lived life like the women that live life as men and were never
Mm-hmm.
caught
I
and live
know,
their
right?
entire adult life as men. And same with some men who lived as women and
Mm-hmm.
were never caught. And
Mm-hmm.
they could have gotten married and had not had families,
not
but at
had
least
families.
gotten married and their partner knew. But then, back in the day, if there was, I wrote a short story for Less Fic Eclectic, Volume 2. And it's from Robin Nix's anthologies. And I wrote about a character who decided to live as a man in order to be with the woman she loved. And this is in the early 1900s. And I took it all from, there's a book that I got called Husbands.
I
And
remember you telling me about
there,
that.
there are a
Yeah.
lot of accounts of that during the Civil
yeah,
War. There were
Mm-hmm.
women that like enlisted under brothers' names, that
yep.
Mm-hmm.
enlisted as men in the Civil War and
The
fought
sad
as
part
men.
about it though is that their wives, once things started being found out, then they cried, "Oh, I didn't know. They fooled me." How are you going to
Mm.
be with someone for 5, 10
Right.
years
And all
and
of a
suddenly
sudden,
you didn't
yeah,
know that
that's
they
some
were a
bullshit
woman?
right there.
You know,
That's,
I feel like it could have gotten away with it a few hundred years ago when it was like lift the bloomers, do your deed and get out, you know,
Yeah.
a decent enough wooden prosthetic. They don't know the difference. They were a virgin
ouch.
before they met you, you know. But now, come on, everybody's got, you know, they've got access to internet or phones. Like, you know what's
Yeah.
real, what's not real. It's not just going to be, I was a virgin when I met you, lift my bloomers, and I don't know what to expect. Like, I feel like it would be much, much harder hiding something like that now than it
But
would
I don't think there's
from
not a
your
need
partner. I'm
to.
sorry, from
Yeah.
your
Oh, from
partner.
partner.
Yeah.
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 Okay. I now get what you're
Well,
saying.
but I
Yeah.
think it's like you said, Kelly. I think it's more or less people feel open enough
Mm-hmm.
to now be that way. It's not that there's more people becoming trans and
Mm-hmm.
more people feeling comfortable enough with their family, with themselves, and with self-acceptance
Mm-hmm.
to express themselves instead
Yeah.
of trying to hide and be on the DL
And that
because
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean
they
like,
get locked up, they get put in insane asylums, they get, there's something wrong with them.
Mm-hmm.
right. Yeah.
And there's still people who, I mean, to say that they feel safe enough, this is still a hostile society.
It
Yeah.
is still
It's
hostile.
still very much so. But
There are conversion camps, Katie.
yeah, there
There are
still
still
are.
conversion camps.
I
Yeah.
know. But it's like it's a positive in a way that there seems to be, in some instances, family support. And I think that's what, I mean, you look at Dwayne Wade. I mean,
Mm,
Oh yeah.
that's a huge one.
yeah,
Yes.
huge. I mean, the black community just came down on him,
Right.
oh, what are you doing? And that's a child. You let a child, blah blah blah. But it's just that family support has made a huge difference. So the world is still hostile. I mean, yeah, things have gotten
And I think it's
better.
also what's within communities. If you look at the African American, the Latinx community, both those communities are really standoffish when it comes to accepting their
Mm-hmm.
queer
Mm-hmm.
children, family members, or whichever.
Still
And
very much so.
especially Black folks, don't. Oh my
Mm-hmm.
goodness! And the fact that you said they came down on Dwayne Wade for
Mm-hmm.
accepting his daughter.
I mean,
For
how dare you? I mean,
Right.
yeah,
how dare
I mean,
how
and
dare
Dwayne
you be a
did that.
loving father? I mean,
Really, I read an article the other day. He said he knew when she was 4 what
oh
was
really?
going on, and that he had to learn to accept it. But it's easier for them to accept Angelina and Brad's child, you know, going through
Shiloh.
their
Was
change
it Shiloh?
than it
Mm-hmm.
is for Dwayne Wade and his daughter to
John.
be
Because
different.
that child's not part of our community. It's all
That's what I'm
okay
saying.
when
No,
it's
I'm
Right.
yeah,
outside. Yeah,
I'm
it's
just
all
saying
okay when it's
the
outside.
world in
It's
general, the world in
mm-hmm.
general,
Isn't
Yeah.
that like what you see with parents though? Sometimes it's like, oh, it's okay if that kid is gay. I don't want
But
my own kid to be gay,
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you know?
Well, that's what I have. So the book that I'm redoing, the character's mother is pretty much of that mindset. She was okay when it was her sister's son,
Mm-hmm.
that was gay. But then she finds out her daughter's gay, and all of a sudden it's like, oh my God,
Like, what
she
am I
can't,
supposed to do? What did
yeah,
I do
she can't
wrong?
accept
Yeah,
it. And
yeah.
then she even has to admit to
Oh,
herself, like,
man.
okay, I see what's wrong with this picture.
Mm. Yeah.
But it's
It's a
it's
shame.
it's
So
sad.
you as you do you write exclusively black characters?
Yes. Just my main characters.
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I
I
mean.
will include, other characters, side characters would maybe of another race, culture, or
Okay.
whichever.
Okay.
But my main characters are and will always be of a person of color, a BIPOC person.
Mm-hmm.
They may not be, the character in the book I just mentioned. Her mother's Puerto Rican, her father's Black.
Mm-hmm.
So they may not be, fully African American, but there may be of some type of
Mm-hmm.
ethnicity.
Mm-hmm.
And that's,
Okay.
like I said, that's really, really important to me because it's representation and I want people to see themselves. The same reason that I was really excited to work on In Our Words,
Mm-hmm.
because the stories, there's such a diverse, and not all of them are about race, but
Mm-hmm.
just written by people of color showing their creativity. So, some stories are sci-fi, some stories are
Ooh.
um, uh, historical, some stories are, there's so many different stories. There's so many
Mm-hmm.
different stories, and they all just, range from spectrums, romantic or general, just they all range. But it's the fact of getting people's words out there and
Mm-hmm.
to be able to be a part of that, to be able to bring their voices to people who would not normally read them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's,
Yeah,
and
exactly. Exactly.
that sense of pride I have for that is like nothing I've experienced before, even with my own writing, because
Really.
I had a hand in that. I
Mm-hmm.
I got to read all these stories, and there was like 100 stories, and I got
Wow.
to read all of them, and then I had to sit up there and decide, okay, I can only pick this many. Who can I pick?
Mm-hmm.
And there's authors, there's authors that are brand new and have never, published in a full, story. Celeste Castro actually has a short story in there. So it's really, really feels good to be able to be a part of that project and to bring those voices forward.
I think I love that Bow Stroke Books listened. I
They
mean,
did. I mean,
I love that.
they immediately came out with their statement and immediately wanted people to know that we will take your stories no matter who you are. So that I'm so proud to be a part of the Bolstro Books family, because they did not waste time in letting the community know we are not like that. We support you, and we want to help you get your work out there.
Fun fact, Celeste Castro is actually my author astronaut of the month this month. So I know, random. Just I feature an author every month. Actually, it was Katie's idea like over a year ago. She asked me if I wanted to be featured on her newsletter. So then I decided, you know what, I should probably start doing that kind of thing too. And she was my first person that I featured on my newsletter, but it's really cheesy. So, if you want to sign up, like I'm booked through the end of this year, but this year's going by fast. So I'll put you in like January. It's
Okay,
real cheesy, real cheesy.
that's okay.
Author astronaut of the month, and I just kind of do a fun little like Q&A, and then I'll post it on my website, and I also send it out in my newsletter on the first. But yeah, she was just my author astronaut of the month. But I reviewed one of her books, I think the Lex Files, back in the day, a few years ago. I reviewed the Lex Files for TLR.
Her short story and In Our Words is awesome. I can't wait for you to read that.
I
Really?
haven't read that. No.
Well, it when it comes
I,
out, so
as
June.
for the publishers, a lot of publishers kind of jumped on the bandwagon. Some of them, and it really was a bandwagon, right? Once one or two started doing it, all of them were like, no, we're good,
Yeah.
And I remember I was informally like posting on social media for my publisher. I was given the keys, right? Saying, look, I'm posting my own stuff. I want to help build our brand. More people coming to you means more people coming to me. So I'm offering to help out of the kindness of my own heart. So I remember going to my publisher, who is in the process of selling, like, hey, do you guys want to put a statement out for this? And I got at the time from my publisher, and she really is great. Like, not my publisher at the time, my previous publisher, Kathy Briarrose. Kathy pretty much came back at me like, why do I need to say anything? She's like, I was publishing, Black authors when nobody else would take Black authors, because she'd been in the business so
Mm.
long. Right. And so, but I'm like, it's still good to put out a statement,
And I have a
even,
friend.
well,
Yeah,
no,
that's kind of the equivalent.
and Renee Bess wrote a really long Burn Your Bridges post for Women in Words. Did you read that? It was like, came out
Yes.
last year.
I remember that.
And Renee actually said, like, my publisher published me when nobody else would. And it's true. Like, and so, but I said, you know what? You still need to say something. I understand, like, you can't hire 50%, diverse people, when it's only you working. Like you can't, it's hard to diversify your company when it's a company of one, you know? And but I still, but you know, it's on everybody else, like, to say and show, don't tell, right? Just like with writing, show, don't tell, show that people of color, readers, writers, everyone, that they are welcome. You know what? You might not have the same resources, you know, especially newer authors who are Black. Maybe they don't have the same resources. They don't know a lot of the same information because they're not in this network, because they're new, and people might not give them the time of day because they discount them. Right. So I did actually get them to put out a statement, and it was Patty, because Patty is the one that Flashpoint bought Regal Crest, and Patty was on it like that. Like, I think she was just waiting. So, and I think it's important for the publishers to make the statement, but again, it's important, like you saw the same statement on the review sites. I don't know if you guys pay attention to all the review sites, but the review sites also started coming out with those same kinds of statements. And one thing I will say for TLR, like Sheena made this sweeping change where a certain percentage of all books reviewed had to go to either by POC authors, and then another percentage were by POC like characters. And she added tags for all of that. So if somebody is looking for authors or characters of color in stories, they can find it on the Lesbian Review website now.
Yeah, I remember. And I was looking for a review of your book, and I'm looking on the Lesbian Review, and I was looking, I was getting pissed. I was like,
Anne's book,
and I was like, but the more I looked, the more I found your book has been reviewed. So I was just like, I was gonna say something about that, because it's just around that time.
Oh, they email me when they reviewed it. They tag me on the stuff. So
so I was just like,
who reviewed your book? Because I think I remember when the review came out, and I'm trying to remember if it was April, because April reads. She goes out of her way to read a lot of authors of color. And then she'll share them with everybody, even if she's not reading for a TLR review.
I don't think it was either. I don't remember who it was.
I'm trying to think of who reads like erotica and maybe Victoria.
That's the only thing. So I have a slight pet peeve where I hadn't even thought my books were considered erotica.
She was saying the same thing.
I understand.
It's tagged that.
I understand.
It's tagged like that on Amazon, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like that. No, but Bold Stroke Books has also put it as erotica. But I understand why, because especially with the first one, the love scenes are pretty graphic. So I guess that's considered more erotic than if it was just the sweet. I don't know. I'm not sure why. But
so then do I write erotica then? I mean, I don't.
I never considered myself writing erotica. I always considered myself writing romantic fiction. But I know Love and Lotus Blossoms. Love and Lotus Blossoms will not be in that genre at all. So
I was like, no.
So you're saying your books, you consider your books just regular romantic fiction?
Yes.
That has sex like almost all the other romantic fiction authors out there. But I will say it's a spectrum, right? When you read romance, contemporary romance, you get everything from fade to black to just full on smut.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what's the line that says, okay, after this point, it's erotica, but before that, it's okay. What is the line?
I don't know, because I didn't realize I had crossed that line. I mean, especially with Fin Tales, the first story, Beast, that was more graphic than the others, but that's because the characters called for that. You have a character named Beast, you're gonna have.
Come on, I mean, you gotta.
that one is actually tagged on TLR as erotic romance. However, your other one is not tagged as an erotic romance on TLR, even though I'm pretty sure it's tagged as erotic romance on Amazon, isn't it?
Masquerade? I don't think so.
It's not? I thought it was.
I know some people were not, they liked Masquerade until it got to a certain point and then they felt uncomfortable. That's the common a common comment is that I don't know if either of you have read it yet.
I have not read it yet.
Okay.
I don't read a lot of contemporary fiction, so.
But no, the Masquerade is historical.
I definitely don't read historical. Sorry. I try to stay away from all historical romance movies, anything. I'm just not.
Well, without spoiling it, there's a point.
Don't spoil. Don't spoil.
No, I'm not. There's a point, and you'll know if you read it. There's a point where the main character is doing something that she wants to do but doesn't want to do, and people felt like it was on the edge, and it made them uncomfortable.
Well, then I say you did your job, didn't you?
That's actually the point of that scene. There's a fine line between passion and there's that fine line. I would never have a character be put in a bad situation unless the story called for it. If I'm writing a historical that took place during slavery, and you gotta
be real about it.
Be real about it. Certain things happened.
It wasn't puppies and rainbows.
No, the masters did things to the women that even the males, with the female, the mistresses of the house who took advantage of the males.
Bingo.
Yeah. So, if it calls for it, if it's necessary for the story, I'll put it. That wasn't, that was wavering, but it wasn't what people are like all up in arms about. And then another interesting one I got for Femtales was that the blurb misrepresented the story, and he was all excited to read this. It was a guy. He was all excited. He said, "Oh, look." What did he say? "Oh, look, a book with lesbians and sex." And I guess he was disappointed with Masquerade it was. He was disappointed with the story, and he never finished it. This is a Goodreads review. Go on Goodreads and you'll see. I'm
on Goodreads, and I want to say welcome to the club, because both your books here have Charles. Charles has hit about 50% of my books.
Okay.
Like half a dozen of my of the 13 of the 12. I have another personal person that I think hates me. I don't know who they are, but they have 1 star. You remember that one, Coyote / Tessa or whatever. They 1 starred, and will add my books to bucket of fuck category or snooze fest. Like I don't know who this person is, but they really dislike my book. They dislike me. They dislike me.
But then here's my
Charles, man.
They Charles, it so much they're reading it.
I know, right?
They're spending
you know how you
it.
can see on so you would assume, but it's Goodreads. So Charles doesn't buy all the books. He 1 stars, right? But what's interesting is on Goodreads you can see if the person has read it, and what the last date they read it, or if they've read it more than 1 time. This Coyote Tessa has read some of my books 2-3 times. And I'm like, whatever.
Sure she didn't like it. She just wanted to make sure
again and again. Yeah, it's all good. It's just
welcome to the big girls club. Because if you
with Charles.
Okay. All right. I feel good now. All right. So I don't.
I just thought all the big folks. Yeah.
But
I just thought it was funny.
So the person that did that. Question for you, because I had something similar happen. Question for you, the person that said, it's just about lesbians and sex.
No, he wanted it to be about lesbian sex and was disappointed that it had more to it.
Oh my God.
That it wasn't just a smut fest.
Yes.
Yeah, I had a reviewer on Amazon. On Amazon about one of my Amazon books, not the store, but I have the trilogy with Amazon, Ancient Greek, 30 BCE, right? Lots of research for that. However, the guy commented, "There's no sex in that book. It's more of a coming of age story, right? For this 19-year-old woman." Wrote in the review, "Well, this should have I was expecting ogres and magic and gods and centaurs, and this should have just been called Caring Sharing Amazons." And I read the review, it was a 1 star, and I was like, yeah. probably should have just been called Caring, Sharing, Amazons.
Caring,
I
Sharing,
agree.
Amazons.
I mean, there are fight scenes and everything, but like I purposely, which is just weird because like I never ever said I don't consider them a fantasy, but they're constantly categorized as fantasy because it's about Amazons and there's no like real proof in Amazons, right? Like the ancient Greek kind. There are statues, there are pottery depictions, but there's no like proof. So it's considered fantasy. But I did not write any magic in those books. The one character, the main character, does not believe in the gods, you know. So the common mythology before Christianity started taking over was still the Olympus, right? The Greek gods and goddesses, and there was no magic in any of this. I don't know where they thought there was nothing in any description for book one about centaurs and like what the. How did you even expect this?
Xena.
Maybe. So it's just interesting what people, the lazy reader that won't even open the read inside, you're complaining that this book doesn't have a numerous things and you stopped reading it. Had you read even the first chapter, you would see 3 of the things you complained were missing. Like, yeah, you could read the first chapter online for free. Like, don't be lazy.
I've had a few, at least on Goodreads, I had at least 2 or 3 that said they never finished Masquerade because it made them uncomfortable. And I said, well, if you would have gotten past the discomfort, then you would have gotten an even better story.
You see me rolling my eyes, right?
Yeah, we see that.
That goes back to my whole argument that I'm gonna use the word lesfic just because that's where it fits. The whole lesfic genre is inundated with, and there's nothing wrong with it. I'm not trying to down writers who write, the feel good Pollyanna, sweetness, there's a market for it. There are people who like to read it.
Puppies and rainbows.
Yeah. But I think people have gotten so used to it that that's what they expect out of every single.
It's formulaic.
Book. Yes.
It's so formulaic.
Of meet cute, get to know each other, break up for some stupid ass reason. And then
sorry, that's such a pet peeve for me. I just like
see with my stories, there's 2 things. One, it has to be realistic. And I know a lot of people say they read fiction because they want to escape reality, but you can escape reality. You can have reality and still have a happy ending. Right. There's still a way around it. And when my breakups happen, they're not cute little breakups. There's no simple reason why they broke. If a breakup happens, there's no simple reason why they broke up. But it's in life, you have humps you have to get over to get past things. And if my book is going to represent me, it's going to represent women in my community, it's going to represent African, it's going to represent all spectrums of life. And life is not pretty. Life isn't going to always be simple, but it's getting past all the shit and then getting to the end and being able to be happy that makes it all worth it.
Yes, so it just makes it
waiting through all that crap is taking you to a better place. Then hey, that's what it is. And
let me revisit my statement that it's not breakup fix that I hate. Oh,
no, I didn't say that. Mine was like that, but I see what you're saying.
But the formulaic breakup is insert stupid reason, break up, and then come back together. And usually stupid reason is you can't fucking talk to each other like adults. And I think that's one of the things that I try to always write for the mature adult and not the like emotionally mature. Does that make sense? Like, yes. I try to write the emotionally mature adult. One of the I've had a few reviews like on different books where it says, I like the fact that your characters go through stuff and they go through stuff and then, but they talk it out like an adult. rather than like, oh, this is the end and big drama. And it's like, they talk it out, they go through the shit together and they come out the other side rather than, all that.
Okay, everybody. I know that was kind of a heavy conversation, but it's one of those conversations that have to be had, in my opinion. And it's also one of those conversations you could talk about forever. I mean, because there's so much that you can stuff into it, but we're not gonna do that. But it is
Speaking of
something we definitely revisit.
Speaking of stuffing into it.
Yeah. Nice
Segue.
Oh, you're worried now, Anne, aren't you? You're worried. I think what did we say the title of this one is? Things that go in and out of butts.
Things that go in and out of butts. So not to just jump from one subject to the next, but that is a good segue. I think that yeah.
So okay, the first one
comical. Yeah.
The first one is very cute. Okay. It's not like that, Anne. I promise. I'm not gonna promise for the other two. Okay. The first one's very cute.
I'm a grown woman, I can handle it.
So I'm gonna share with you this story. Ignore the ads, but here is the story. So you can see here the article. Parents are using pudding and peanut butter to trick their kids with the poop challenge. Now, I don't know. Have you heard of the poop challenge?
No.
No? Okay.
I don't have little kids. So.
Okay. Well, we haven't done this, but our kids aren't little either. But so this is pretty entertaining.
Okay.
Yeah, you can. No, I can't. It's right there on the floor.
So can you hear the sound?
Thank you.
So the mom asked the daughter to bring the toilet paper.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
What's that?
I'm sorry.
What is that? What's that?
It's poop.
And the cat's just like, what's going on?
No.
Now, clearly based on the article title, it's not really poop. You are disgusting.
She looks very affected.
I think she's traumatized for life. This little girl is traumatized for life. And the cat is back.
It's chocolate pudding. It's chocolate pudding. I played a prank on you. It's chocolate pudding.
No, she won't believe it.
Look.
Don't eat it.
Chocolate pudding.
So now it's funny.
I pranked you. It's chocolate pudding.
But
Well, now what's that? What happened?
so that is an interesting prank to play on your children, right? Or anyone. Yeah, I don't see an older kid falling for that. So it's an interesting prank, and so it was actually written up where they'll mix like peanut butter with chocolate pudding to make it look more realistic. And that little girl, I'm convinced, will be scarred for the rest of her life because she was like, don't eat it. Like, she didn't know whether to laugh or cry or just probably curl up into a little ball. And the first time I saw this on Twitter, it just made me crack up laughing. The first time I saw it, it reminded me when I was a kid. I remember my grandma saying to my cousins, my one cousin was a couple years older than me, and she told her flat out, she's like, if you keep sucking your thumb, I'm gonna rub shit on your thumb and you won't suck it anymore. And my cousin was like, no, you're not, right? And my grandma made chocolate pudding one day when she was sleeping. She rubbed chocolate pudding, she took it, rubbed it on her thumb, and freaked her out. And she's like, she stopped sucking her thumb. And I was like, well, I would too, because my grandma was she was a pistol. She was also the same one that I had this goldfish that was the size of my hand. I called him Mr. Big, and he was in this little tank. I was in my 20s, right, with my ex-fiance. And we went to my mom's. We always went to my mom's house for Christmas. And my grandma said, when you and Chet come over, bring your fish. I'm like, it's dead. I was just gonna like throw it outside because I live, in the country. And she's like, no, your cousin Sean said he wanted a fish for Christmas. So I'm gonna wrap it up and put it in the freezer and give it to him when they come over on Christmas Day. And my grandma did that. She put it in a Ziploc baggie, and then she wrapped it up and put the present in the freezer until Christmas Day. And when Sean came over, Sean was like, I don't know, 12 or 13, right? When he came over, my grandma gave him this package and he opened it and he was just horrified. Like, so yeah. Anyway.
Look your grandma.
My grandma, she was my best friend. I tell you, like, she just was. I remember, I never,
Echo.
Yeah,
there's an echo. It's because probably I'm not speaking into the microphone. Is it better now?
I don't know. No, there's still an echo. There's still an echo.
I know what it is. Okay, echo's gone now, isn't it?
I don't know. Is it gone? It's gone. Yeah, it's gone. Okay.
Anyway, my grandma was my best friend, but I remember when I never came out to her. I remember when I split up with my ex at the time. I was with him like 7 years. And I remember she cried and she's just like, I just want you to be happy. And I'm like, I am much happier, Grandma. I promise. Aww. I mean, I only missed my pets, so that should have said something. But yeah, I used to take my computer when I'd go see them because I lived, hour or so away, and I'd take my computer up and I'd show my grandma pictures of friends and stuff. And there was this comic strip she was like clicking through, and there's a comic strip I don't know if you guys have seen it, of two dogs sitting in a bar and they're both wearing like collars. And it's like, Joe and Bob, looked around and realized too late that they were in a stray bar, right?
Oh my God.
And my grandma like jogs me with her elbow, like, like you and Jane, huh? Like talking about my roommate, right?
Oh, roommate.
Well, I never called Jane my roommate, not once. I would just say, me and Jane, or I was living with her, but I never introduced her as, right? But my grandma knew. She wasn't dumb. My mom's like, oh, that's nice. It's dinner's ready. It's enough of pictures, But my grandma, she knew. So
yeah, she's pulling jokes like
back then.
This is funny. Right. I never called her my roommate. I just, whatever. All right. So moving on.
That one was gross, and I would never do that to a child.
I would. I see myself doing something like that.
No.
All right. So moving on. The next one, these are, by the way, almost all of these were Katie's idea. So German bomb squad finds reported grenade was a rubber sex toy. So they were called on the report of a grenade spotted by a jogger in the woods. Sure, he was.
Probably he is. Mm-hmm.
I want to know what these woods were, if they're popular among a certain crowd. But so the bomb squad was called to the wooded area outside of Passau, near the Austrian border, on the report of a hand grenade in a plastic bag found by the jogger. Come on. You're not going to store your hand grenade in a plastic bag. Anyway, they arrived and discovered the grenade-shaped object was made of rubber, as one is accompanied by 2 condoms, an empty bottle of personal lubricant, and a USB charging cord.
Oh my God.
They said the bomb squad did an online search and confirmed the suspected explosive was a harmless sex toy. They said the condition of the plastic bag indicated it had been in the woods for some time before being discovered. Now, I brought this up. You can't see, for those of you just listening to the podcast, but here is what looks like an old-timey grenade that has more of a handle on the end. That's a dark army man green. And then there's a yellow, more modern-looking grenade, but it's like school bus yellow.
It comes with grenade soap.
Right. Hand grenade massager, Big Bang, with free grenade soap, military green. So you can get military green, battleship blue, or grenade black. They are vibrating massager, discreet vibration massage.
Okay.
So
you have to go to that second picture. You have to go to that second picture.
With the USB cord.
Wait, that one. So that's
Whoa.
what you use it for.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
So for those listening along, it shows like the bare back pain, like it's red where the neck is, and then it's red in the lower back and red at the knee or leg. Yes, I'm sure that you're using this.
It just happens to be shaped like a butt plug at the top.
It
happens.
really does. Yeah, it's totally a grenade with a butt plug at the top.
Mhm.
But it is a personal massager, people, not meant for rectal use. And obviously you should wash it well with your grenade soap when you're done using it.
Unless you use the condom that was in the plastic bag with it.
There you go.
I feel like that business could get messy, and sometimes you still need to wash it.
That's true. That's true.
But why would they put the empty thing of lubricant back in the bag? Maybe they didn't
want a litter. They just wanted to keep it all together.
Why were they in the park with a bag of a massager lubricant?
I feel like you don't leave that sort of thing behind on accident. Here's what I think went down. I think that two individuals met up in the dark for a little personal massage session. Yeah. And the one's like, did you bring Big Bang? Did you bring Big Bang? And the other's like, I brought Big Bang. And so they got it on. I think they were interrupted before and the one had to take off running. And he left his toy bag behind. That's what I think.
They didn't get anything out of the bag yet before they got interrupted.
I don't know. The lube was empty.
The lube was empty.
Time to put it back in the bag.
Right.
And they were done. And
they were done. I feel like that's my story. I feel like they were done and wrapping up, and somebody interrupted them, and they took off running, and the bag got left there.
I like that story. I'll go with that.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Those things are $50.
Right. I don't think they would have just, and then maybe it was out in the middle of nowhere, so they didn't know where it was at. Right. So you drop it, you don't know where you left Big Bang. It's army green. It clearly blends in. Like,
although it could have been black.
It could have been black. It's true. It could have been black or battleship blue.
We don't know. Does it specify? Does it say what color it was?
It doesn't actually. It doesn't actually say what color it was.
Oh, maybe there's a picture of it.
This is the German site.
Okay.
You know what? Accept it all. I don't know what I just agreed to because it's in German. So, it doesn't say what color they are. It's a much shorter article. Disposal was taken over by the police. So, they probably just tossed it in the dumpster out back of the
all right.
I don't know, because
the police station.
Important evidence, they need to put in the evidence locker or whatever.
Speaking of evidence lockers, another segue.
Very good. You're on fire tonight, Kelly.
You could say I'm a girl on fire.
Oh,
perfect.
Anyway, on that one.
Speaking of evidence lockers, and this is stretching things. The last article for you, Anne. A man was arrested at Kid Rock's bar for removing his colostomy bag and swinging it around.
So talk about shooting the shit.
I do see what you did there. Okay. Talk about shooting the shit. Yeah. So, and this is in Nashville, and I feel like, is anybody else surprised that there would be some sort of shit distribution going on in a Kid Rock bar? I'm not. I can't think of a better place for it to happen.
Honky tonk rock and roll steakhouse.
Right. And so apparently there was a man who was stirring up shit at the bar. And by that, I mean, he removed his colostomy bag and was flinging literal poo around at others.
Oh my God.
So, and somebody, Nashville Scanner, apparently this guy, I think he's done it before, because the Nashville Scanner, which tweeted about it, said that some units have feces on them. This is the third time I've heard about this colostomy bag guy the past 2 nights. So it sounds like he has a past history. He had previously refused medical attention both times. When police encountered the man again, he removed his colostomy bag and began flinging poo at the responding officers.
He
Oh
just
my
wants to
God.
share.
He just wants to share. This is not peanut butter and chocolate pudding, people.
No.
This is the
I'm glad-
real deal.
I'm glad there's no pictures for this.
They need to pass out some of that Big Bang soap or whatever, grenade soap to everybody in there.
My God. I hope it has Lysol or something in it, because my God, can you say hepatitis? Oh,
So it says at least one officer is heading home for 30 to 40 minutes to get a change of clothes. Take as much time as you need. Can you imagine the smell taking that guy in?
Oh my God.
It said at least one officer was temporarily out of service after having to run home to make a wardrobe change. That means he had enough on him that he had to go change his wardrobe.
Oh,
Well, what's this? I am not. Read this one down here, Kevin Walsh.
So there's another tweet. Somebody tweeted, I'm not comfortable being in the same bar with someone swinging his colostomy bag around years old. So, I mean, yeah, I guess at this age, I've just discovered that I probably would not be comfortable with somebody
No.
swinging their
Is there
colostomy bag around.
is there any age to be that comfortable?
No, I don't.
hope not. I hope
I don't want to be around anybody flinging poo about. So, but yes, he was arrested, the colostomy bag man.
Okay.
That is,
Yeah.
yeah.
That one is.
I tend to find the most interesting stories the day of. When we're gonna-
It's true. It really is true.
yeah.
I don't know. I just that it's just too much.
So sorry, sir. You had a shitty trio of topics tonight.
Yes. That brings up there with the store that I saw once in the mall, and I took a picture of it, and it said dental and foot care. It was a
What?
place that did dentistry and podiatry in
Oh
one.
my God.
Ew. Ew.
Oh,
I don't-
I just stood
Are you
there.
at least changing your gloves between? Like, I'm gonna,
don't
la, la,
know.
la. They're like, yep, looks good.
And
Now you have-
they're not at that mall anymore, as far as I know. But
I was about putting your foot in now. Jeez.
Ah,
what is it? Mouth to foot disease, hand to mouth.
right. Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't want to go to that particular place.
Oh,
Can you imagine your dentist giving you the address to come by and you see dental and foot care?
That would be like, I'd be like a gynecologist also doing dentistry. If they walk into the room like this, it's like, put your gloves on.
Or a proctologist.
Or a proctologist,
Oh.
yes.
oh.
Where apparently you need the fattest fingers in the world to go into that profession.
Oh, that is.
I'm just saying.
That is an image.
Well, that was very interesting.
You're
WTFs.
welcome. You're welcome.
Definitely
Wait.
WTFs.
We have, like I said, we have Katie to thank for that one. So
Thank you.
you know what? I'm really glad that you came on to talk with us. And I had we had a little gap in between when Katie, you guys don't know this because she's going to edit it out, but like we had good conversation. Like it's nice to get that other side, and I want own voices to be heard, you know, and like I told Anne a little bit ago, off video, we don't understand, meaning I'm not a person of color. I don't understand. I can understand pain, and I can understand that you are in pain, but I can't understand your pain.
Mhm.
All I can do is hold out my hand and say, do you need something from me? How can I help you? And if somebody unlocks the door, give them help pushing it open. You know, it takes an entire community. Sometimes you just need to lift somebody up so that they can be heard.
It's gonna take all of us.
Yes.
To
And
make
like I
change.
said, constantly.
Yeah.
Constantly.
Yeah.
And
Never
it's
let it up.
One-time thing to say, here, look what I did. It has to be constant.
I don't care if it makes people uncomfortable. I don't care if people get sick of hearing it. You know what? People of color get sick of living it. So change needs to happen.
True
Change
story.
need to happen, and we're not going to shut up about it until change happens.
And I'm going to continuously be a part of that change. I'm going to put Black women on my covers. I'm going to do my Black characters or my characters, my BIPOC characters. I am not, I have no shame in that because I have no shame in myself. So if I have no shame
Me either.
in who
Top
I
of the
am,
top of the pyramid, Ann. Top of the pyramid.
thank you. Thank you. And thank you for allowing me to share my thoughts in
Oh,
this.
please, you have to come back
forum.
again. We have to tailor-made another podcast for you. You have to come back.
Oh, thank you. Maybe we can do one on how to figure out what's the line between erotic and.
Maybe.
Ooh,
That could be a good one.
idea. Write that down, Kelly. Write it
We
down.
we could do some readings, and we're like, was that too much? Was that too much?
There you go. What's across the line? What is it?
Like, rate your spice level now. Are you sweating? Are you
Mhm.
excited? Like,
It'll be a different kind of girl on fire.
it will.
Oh my God. Well, thank you very much for joining us. We do appreciate
Thank you.
it. I kind of like this guest spot thing, so it's pretty cool. I like it. I like it a lot. But we definitely need to do it more often. Not that our personalities don't, bring out enough excitement, to each other, with everybody. So, yeah. But still, I like this guest spot thing. Okay. All right. So this has been another episode. I was about to say Girl on Fire. No,
Don't get it confused.
not Girl on Fire. This is Shooting the Shit. Thanks everybody for joining us. We came,
We conquered,
we talked.
and now we got to go.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.